Greetings and welcome to Mount Olympus. I am Hercules Invictus, and today I'm proud to bring you Unariun Revelations with the Kennedys, Tracey and Kevin. And we're going to be exploring the path of the documentary Welcome Space Brothers.
Hi, Hercules.
Hi,
Great to see you
Hercules.
again.
Great to be here as always.
So this has been a long journey. I remember when this was an idea in a few people's heads that was floating around, and now it's become a reality, and it's continuing its path and it's spreading. And you guys are right in the thick and thin of it. Can you update us a little bit?
Absolutely. So this actually began with Jody Willie, who was a documentary filmmaker. She's done a couple others. One, I think, before this one that was probably most quote unquote famous was called The Source Family, and received accolades for that and awards. And then about 12 years ago, I want to say 12, 15 years,
2014.
she came to Unarius and said, "Hey, I want to do a doc about Unarius, and what do you guys think?" And so we, as a group, as a board of directors, we sat down and talked with her for a while about it, and realized and spoke that we realized she was not going to be able to make a commercial about Unarius. I mean, basically, she's flat out said, I'm going to have to show some of the warts and some of the things you guys may not like, but we're going to give people an opportunity to learn more about Unarius. And we basically, what I said was, well, as long as you're showing the love and the healing that people have had with Unarius, wonderful. It'll be just fine. So she began the process. And as with all documentaries, very rarely do they have money. And so she started off small and got people to help her, back it up and keep it going forward. And slowly but surely, she was able to get filmmakers, or should say, the actual crews together, the audio and the visual guys together to come out and do filming. And like I said, it took her earnestly probably 9 years. Started 12 years ago, and 9 years, yeah. So we're talking about a lot of filming. And one of the problems that she had was Unarius' story is so vast. And how do you bring that down to a story, to a some kind of way where people can see and feel and get a grasp of maybe what was going on without because it is so, I mean, it's over 50 years of information there and this incredible infinite understanding. How do we present that to folks? So she kind of approached it from the point of view of let's take this one little slice of time from the late 70s to the probably late 80s, when we were doing all of the filming for psychodramas. And psychodrama, for people who do not know, is where we as students of Unarius would reenact our past lives. No script involved. We just kind of basically have an outline, and then just enact those different scenes from our past lives as a group, and people who felt so prompted would be involved with that. So that was probably, and during that time, there was just this incredible amount of, as we say, an explosion of creativity between the filmmaking, the music, and the arts, and the dance, and the painting. So that was kind of the area that she focused on.
So one of the things that we've appreciated about Jody is we have worked with a lot of news media, filmmakers, journalists over many, many years, and they come learn a little bit about Unarius, just a snapshot, go back, write their story, and sometimes it's good and sometimes they miss the mark completely. Well, Jody immersed herself in getting to know Unarius, getting to know the archives, watched probably every video that Unarius has produced, spent time interviewing students and filming. She probably spent an hour, 2 hours with many of the students filming them. She spent a lot of time at our house. We have a house with a guest room, when she was here, and really got to know both of us and know more of the history on intimate level, especially Kevin, because he was so much a part of what was happening at that particular time. And she treated us with respect and dignity. And we really appreciated her sincere effort, because we never felt like she was going to misrepresent Unarius, misrepresent us as people and individuals. And she really walked the talk of what she said she was going to do. And when it got to the point, and the other thing that happened, which is interesting, was, as Kevin mentioned, she did this on a shoestring budget, which is very difficult for her. And she'd show up and then, with a film crew, and then a year later be completely different people. And she did bring on Karen Kapatasta. I can't say her last name. She's Greek. You can probably pronounce it better than me. But Karen, as a co-producer, was someone who has a lot of experience. And she actually produced the documentary about Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. She did a great job on that. And she came on board with Jody. So the two of them worked together really, really well. And then as she would get funding, she'd come back and do more filming. And then it finally reached a point where she's ready to do editing. Well, this was at the point, like, she really thought 2020 was going to be the year where this would all come together. Well, then COVID happened. And then they were trying to, continue to do editing, and people weren't available. And there, again, no budget. So she put every cent she had into this, physically and spiritually and mentally, and managed to pull it together. And it took her, I think, 3 years before she had a draft that we could watch. And here's the thing that she did, which is wonderful and just shows the integrity of what she is as a person. She brought the rough draft down to Unarius, invited all of us students there who had been involved or hadn't, but were students, and showed it to us, and then spent the documentary is, I think, 91 minutes. She spent probably 2 hours afterwards with us, asking for our feedback about what we thought about every aspect of what we had seen. And then she went back and modified it and changed it. And some things she didn't, because she's the filmmaker and it's her story. However, she really fine-tuned it. And so it was about another year and a half before we saw the actual finished product. And when we watched it in an audience of over 1,000 people, everybody was crying. There's so much healing and love in what she did.
It was really amazing, really amazing. Yes. So this is why we're excited about it. And as she said, there's some parts in it that are a little bit rough, and but the thing that is overwhelmingly apparent is the healing that the students had. And she shares not only interviews with we as students and footage of Uriel, the co-founder of Unarius, and some amazing Super 8 film that we hadn't even ever seen. We hadn't digitized it from when the Madri and the Uriel first began Unarius.
Oh, wow.
So, oh yeah. I mean, it is really cool to see some of that footage. So shared that. That's in the doc, along with, which is really, I mean, just, she went as far as you possibly could push to get interviews with people. She actually interviewed Uriel, Ruth Norman's great granddaughter, and great granddaughter. They're in the documentary because what was Ruth like before she was involved with Unarius, and just got the whole story. And of course, which we thought was so fascinating is the granddaughter is just loves Uriel, loves Unarius, is a student of Unarius, which we didn't know because she's just doing it on her own. And then she talked about her granddaughter, so it's the great granddaughter, something along those lines, who is now picking up Unarius and studying it. And it's just a wonderful story, and the way she integrates the arc of Uriel's growth and Unarius's growth into media, showing the video and the films and the stills and all the things that we did, and what happened and why it happened. And so it's just a wonderful, wonderful story. And it doesn't tell the whole story of Unarius. It can't. But what it does do, and which is the most important thing it can do, is share the love. And it's just fantastic. I really appreciate it. So,
and we've seen it a lot because as we can, as students can, and particularly Kevin, because he's has such a pivotal role in the documentary, telling the story of what happened. We've been invited to be part of a question and answer after the film, because it's been primarily shown at independent theaters all over, even as far away as in Australia. But in the United States, she's invited us and other students as well to come and be part of the Q&A. And it's really exciting, because the people that are there and come and see it, And it may be, a couple of the screenings, there's been over 1,000 people. And then, in some of the smaller independent theaters, it might be 50 or 100, but everybody always appreciates it. And they love being able to ask questions and hear firsthand from Kevin and other students what it was like being part of the documentary, what it was like being part of Unarius, how just all sorts of questions that people have. So, even though I shouldn't say even though it's been wonderful because we've seen the documentary probably at least 10 times, and it's just as powerful the 10th time as it was the first time we saw it. So it definitely carries the love and the healing frequency of Unarius. And that's just wonderful. She did such a wonderful job of letting the students and Uriel and the information present itself and carry that love frequency, that healing energy.
Now, interestingly, what has happened is that she's a great marketing person, and so she's marketing the film, obviously, and also working with, as she has and understands, and and moves in different circles, all of these filmmakers up in Los Angeles. So at a certain point, when she was first getting the film together, we made what is called a mashup, I guess you want to call it that, of like an hour long video of many of the different Unarius videos, going from one to the other, and some of the films and what have you. And we showed those in L.A. There's a theater called Cinefamily. We showed some of the actual films we did, and the mashup as well. And at the time that was going on, she had the foresight to actually invite Chris Miller and
Phil
Lord, the guys who brought us Hail Mary, and all the Lego movies and some others, to come and see what it was like, and what Unarius is all about. Well, she was already in the process of getting the documentary going, and they saw what Unarius had done. And they said to her afterwards, and the enthusiastic response that the audience provided, just seeing what Unarius had done, which was amazing. But they said to her, "Are you going to make a movie about this, or are we?" And yeah, and so they, she said, "Hey, I'm making a doc right now, but I need money." And they've come on board since then as producers, which means they put some skin in the game. They actually gave her monies to help pay for the doc, along with now. I don't know if you know who Moby is. Moby's a musician, writer, singer, and he's helped out as well through his nonprofit foundation he set up, which I think was called Little Acorn, something like that. But his idea was, hey, I've made it, and I want to help others make it as well. And
I heard a story from Celeste that he changed one of his songs. And
yes,
yeah,
it was interesting because one of his songs that he wrote had some lines in it about these brothers coming from other worlds, and please don't kill us. And so he actually the showing of the documentary in LA, actually in Glendale, which is a suburb of LA, about a month ago, we went up as a group, as Unarius, and just had all the students were up there. They had the space cat up there. We had all kinds of stuff, merchandise and what have you, and of course some of the books. But he actually had the Corlears get on stage and sing with him before the documentary was shown, and which is really fantastic. But he wanted to sing this song, and Jody ended up working with him, saying, they're not going to want to sing "Hey, Please Don't Kill Us," because they know the brothers, these space brothers, they're not coming here to kill us. And we kind of got the corner sewed up on the violence part of the universe, so they're not going to be here to do that. And so he did. He actually changed the lyrics, and it was just worked out really, really great. The Corlears worked out great, and sang before the actual documentary was shown. It was, and you can see it on our website. It was just an amazing experience.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, under Unarius's website, if you go to the event page, you can click on the trailer that someone made about the Alex Theater and that experience. So it's really wonderful. And Moby, we didn't really have any interaction with him, but all the students did that were part of the choraleers, and they said there were a couple other things that they got because he kept changing the words as they were practicing. And a couple of the students said, no, 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 we can't do that. We need to, do something more positive, which, I mean, he did. And he's a positive guy, what little I got to interact with him or, see. And based on what I heard, everyone agreed that he's a, very sweet person, nice frequency, and really wants to do good for our planet, for the people on our planet.
I saw some of the promos that were on the website or in the Facebook group, and one of them seemed to focus on the more way out, quote unquote, aspects of Unarius. And another one framed it as if it was the experiences of a contactee, the experience, the activity of Norman.
Yes, and one of the things that Jody and has been proven out true is that so many years ago when we were doing these videos and going through the psychodrama process, and this is something that Uriel initiated. She actually came down to the students' class after one of the classes and said, you guys are supposed to take Unarius to the world. That's what you've set up to do, but you're so inhibited and you're so insecure, and you're just not outgoing. But the brothers keep telling me you're going to do this. So I had this epiphany. I had this awareness that the way we're going to do it is you're going to enact your past lives on film. And that's how we're going to tell the world about Unarius. So, when she brought that up to the students, that was probably 1976, 77. We were just like, oh my God, really? Okay. But we, as I did, my belief in what my teacher said to me, I said, okay, let's do this. And all of us, kind of joined in to take part in that process and making the costumes and the sets and what have you. But because we were doing that and we were so different, and especially at the time we were doing that, 1976 through 86, whatever, even and up until really people began to get into the awareness of whether it was Star Wars or Close Encounters of the Third Kind or anything, Star Trek. Even then, there was a look at people who really honestly believed and understood there is life on other worlds. That people kind of look at askew at you and really, what do you mean by that? I don't think and along with the idea that we've lived before and that we've all lived on these other worlds. That's a huge leap, for people to take and understand. So, but because we were doing that and we were getting very little positive press while we were doing that, and a lot of people, as Tracey would say, a lot of news organizations would come out and we'd roll out the carpet for them. We'd share all the information. We'd show them around, and then they'd leave saying, "Oh, we love this," and then they'd go back and they'd do something that was kind of a critical piece, a hit piece on Unarius. So that was shown in the doc, and it was easy to do. They could come out and film for half an hour and walk away and get their 30-second bit soundbite for their show and say, "Look at these crazy people in these costumes, aren't they crazy?" And then move on. Well, since that time, of course, people have opened up a lot to the awareness that they've lived before. And the idea that there's life in other worlds is not something that everybody goes, "Oh, isn't that stupid?" No, it's accepted now. And so Jody was able to show that through the documentary, and recognizing, actually used a lot of the graphics and the special effects that we did at the center in the documentary. And it was a way, and it is a way that people visually, it's so rich that they stop and they go, "Wow, what is going on here?" And that's fine, absolutely fine. We love it. And really, it opened doors. Even though people were reacting to it, they couldn't help but ask, what is going on here? The reason, Uriel was on David Letterman, was on David Susskind, was on all these talk shows, was because they thought, oh my goodness, this person says she's lived on other worlds. She talks about having lived before. She talks about these brothers from other worlds are going to visit our planet. And she dresses up outrageously. That was what got her onto these shows to share Unarius. Now, as she said to us, I really don't care I don't, obviously we'd like them to be open to Unarius, but if this is what it takes, if this is what they see and they're open in any way, shape, or form, they're going to remember the costume, but more than anything, the frequency, the love. They're going to feel that. And the inspiration from the Unarius brothers. Interestingly, and this is shown throughout the doc, which is really great. There's interviews with people who saw those videos that we did so many years ago, and when they first came out, and they were saying, what as they said, what am I watching? This is crazy, and these people are in these costumes, and what is going on? And as one who's an actress, Magnuson, I think, Ann Magnuson,
yeah,
said, at the time we were laughing at Unarius, but we couldn't help but keep watching because it was just original and it was different, and nobody else was doing this. And ultimately, they said, which comes back around the full cycle is, even though we made fun of it originally, there was something there we couldn't put our finger on, and we felt a love. We felt something that was bigger than the easy story of these people are weird. That there's something there that was pure, that made sense, that was intelligent, and it was just so different from what anybody was used to. So that is part of the storyline of the doc, which is just great because it shows how. And Uriel said this for years to us, and Dr. Ormer said the same thing. When these space brothers, these higher beings, come to planet Earth, they're the ones who dig the post holes. They're the ones that plant the seeds and start the building. And when they do that, they're the ones that get beat up a little bit because what they're doing is helping humanity move forward, and they're doing it in such a way that they're shaking up the foundation of what people believe, and showing there's a bigger picture that they may be missing. So Uriel knew that even though these people were going to be critical of her or maybe make fun of Unarius because of what we were doing, but she was so dynamically strong in recognizing, no, this message needs to go forth and needs to reach people on this planet because our planet is in such a bad state and it doesn't have that contact with their inner self. So this is what's portrayed in the documentary as well. And, as we said, that it has a beautiful arc because in the beginning it shares, first of all, the beginnings of where metaphysics was in the 50s and early 60s, and then it brings it into Unarius, and then there's interviews with scholars about what Unarius teaches, and then interviews with folks about what they thought of it when they first saw these videos and what have you. By the end of the movie, they've turned the corner on it, which is fantastic, and they can see the amount of sheer creativity that students took part in. And we're doing it, no, do it yourself stuff. Nobody told us how to make sets. We just said, okay, we need a set. Here we go. Oh, we need a set the inside of a spaceship. Okay, let's just do it. And so we go to, Salvation Army and we pick up props. Oh, there's something we have for 50 cents. Great. That'll work. And we're doing these things and putting these sets together and putting the costumes together, just following our inspiration and allowing that creativity to come through. So yeah, it's a wonderful story in that regard, and to share with an audience that maybe many of them have heard about Unarius and didn't really understand parts of the story, and many people who didn't understand or have never heard of Unarius, and when they get done with it, it really strikes a chord, I think, with the creative community. So if they're into film or painting or dance or music, whatever, they just go, wow, yeah, I want to understand what this is about.
That is great, and that seems to be part of Unarius's ongoing mission, as you pointed out. Because I remember an early interview we did. I think I might have been Thor the Barbarian back in the day. I might have even been using my unpronounceable Greek name.
Yes.
Conversation, we were discussing a segment that had been done on Unarius on some show, and it was a hit piece, as you describe it. And when I asked you how folks from Unarius felt about this, you said that it raises the awareness that Unarius is there, and even though they made fun of the Unarius, the love that Unarius feels for humanity and the positivity of its mission shine through even the distortions of the clip. And I really admired that answer. That was a phenomenal and powerful answer. And this must be great for you because you've been part of the storytelling aspect of Unarius through media since your beginning with Unarius as well. And this is fantastic. It's like a branch on your creative tree.
Yes. And it's so I kind of feel like I say to Tracey, everybody actually, in so many ways, I'm almost like one of the last people standing that was a part of that particular phase of Unarius, and some of the other folks that I feel, if they could, would represent Unarius extremely well. Dennis McNabb is one who produced and edited so many of the videos, extremely creative. David Osborne, who is in the film, and he's got his storyline isn't as well. It ends up being very, very much hooray Uriel, hooray Unarius, and he has a healing, and it's filmed in the documentary, which is amazing. But he had his own problems that he had yet to work out from 45 years ago when he left Unarius, and then now the doc has helped bring him back into the fold, so to speak. But I'm grateful for the opportunity because it's just a way for me to give a voice to what was going on at that time. And the voice is all about, we talk about the love and the intelligence, but learning and sharing that with other folks about the higher self and about these brothers on the inner worlds of light, and how each one of us, if we want to be, if we work at it, we can be open to that inspiration and that love. And that's what the story, underneath everything else, is all about. It's self-healing and learning how to use the principles that Unarius teaches to better ourselves. So the people laughing or saying this or saying that, and this is brought up actually in the documentary as well. One of the things that Uriel said to us in the very beginnings of Unarius, and when Star Wars first came out, she said to us as students, why don't you put on your space costumes and go down and hand out flyers about our Interplanetary Confederation Day event? Well, I was 18, 19 years old, and I was like, oh my God, put on a space costume? Oh my God, And then these are people that, they're going to look at me and talk to me. Well, she said to all of us at the time, why do you care what other people think? Why are you letting them run your life? And even at the time, that was extremely powerful, and has helped me recognize over and over again when I find myself inhibited or concerned. Are they going to be critical of me? And realizing, well, that's my lower self. My higher self wants what's best for this world, and I've got to learn how to stand up for truth. And it's not, and standing up for truth doesn't mean you're beating somebody over the head with what you believe, but does mean sharing, the healing that we've had and being strong in that and recognizing, what this is. And I do, nowadays, of course, I've had so much healing and overcoming. It's just inconceivable to think any other way, except what Unarius has taught us. So yes, it's come full cycle. It's come around to where people aren't, where they're appreciative of what Unarius has to bring to the world. And I'm just looking forward to the day, which I know is going to be in our future, when we will have contact with these brothers from these other worlds in a very physical way, where they'll be able to land and we'll be able to converse with them, one-on-one, as we are conversing with you. So ultimately, that is the goal, is to prepare planet Earth for this new age that's coming about.
And Unarius is not a religion, which is what a lot of people who don't know about Unarius think. And one of the things I tell people, and I've been interacting with Unarius to a greater or lesser degree since I was a teenager, and now I'm almost 70. So Unarius has never, in all that time, told me I had to believe something specific or look at anything in a particular way. They've always freely pointed to information they had that could help me on my journey. They've always answered questions. They've always explained, and they've been very generous with sharing their lives. And this is something I've appreciated about Unarius throughout my lifetime. And it's also, Unarius is the only system of looking at the world that I've come across that takes full responsibility for the world.
Mm-hmm.
that's powerful in a day when everyone's advocating responsibility.
Yeah, it is. And I just want to share something on a personal level because this really meant a lot to us. Um, our Kevin and I both have family members, and they know that we're involved in Unarius, but we've never, ever, ever proselytized about what Unarius was. We've always just, they know that we're involved, and if they ask questions, we answer, but we've never said, here, read this book, or we've never pushed it upon them. Well, my sister and my brother-in-law, when they found out about the documentary, were so excited. And they live in Fort Lauderdale. They literally were looking up theaters and trying to get it to, have it aired there so they could see the film. Well, it's not quite how it worked with Jody and her film crew. But at any rate, it was shown in Miami in May, and they got to see it. And we flew to Fort Lauderdale. We got to be part of the Q&A there, and they were so excited to see the documentary because it answers so many questions that they had and that we'd never talked about. And what was interesting was after the documentary, we were out in the lobby, and my sister was talking to one of the theater goers, and I heard her telling them, she's been involved with Unarius for years. I never really knew what it was about, but this is the first time I got to really find out because she never preached to me about Unarius. Well, it showed in Dallas a couple of weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Kevin texted his sister, same thing. Said, hey, it's, here's this documentary that I've been, with Unarius, I've been involved in. And then what did they say?
Well, they loved it, first of all. And I got a text after they'd been to the theater. It's my sister, her husband, her 2 daughters, and one of her daughter's husbands all went to the theater to see the doc. And I got a text as soon as they were out of the theater. They had a picture of themselves in front of the marquee saying, welcome, Space Brothers. And her opening line in that text was, hi, Space Brother Kevin. And she was just excited. She loved and enjoyed it. And I'm kind of surprised because she's kind of had a little bit of animosity, I think, because she felt like Unarius took me away from her. And so just to have her appreciate it and have her daughters and, my nieces appreciate it and enjoy the story was great. And so this is what it's all about. It's a way, an avenue for people to be to get it in a way that isn't going to make them feel threatened. And so yeah, it was, I just loved that she was able to be receptive in that regard. And I will say this, and this is something that is the signature of Unarius. And just like you said, is weird. There's no, you have to do this, you must do that. It's very much around each person following their own guidance about how they're studying and what they're learning. Now, if somebody has a question, I'm glad to answer it. But it's all about, hey, follow your own inner promptings. Since it has been shown, the documentary, we've had people visit us. It was shown in Arkansas about a year and a half ago, Little Rock. And we've had people show up at the center that had seen the documentary, and from actually all over, from Montana, San Francisco, Little Rock, and they just show up and say, hi, we saw the doc and we just had to get here and see what the actual center is. And it was just beautiful because it gave a new reality to them and an ability to not only see the documentary, but then to see the center where so much of the filming was done, see the warehouse where so many of the videos and the special effects were done for the documentary and for the films and for Unarius's videos. And they just breathing in that beautiful frequency of Unarius. And then, they walk away and they maybe buy a book here, a book there, and they're on their journey. And that's what, for me, it's all about, because I know that the nature of my past, Hercules, and I don't know if I've ever really talked about it much, is I understand that I have been a force that has not been positive in this world and done things that were not helpful to other folks, to other people. And so in this lifetime, I knew the moment I contacted Unarius, this is part of my working out, is being able to share the truth this time and not try and control people, but give them the opportunity to experience it and then let them go on their way and their own journey without me trying to control or tell somebody what to do. So this documentary and the Q&A afterwards gives me an opportunity to help right the wrongs that I've been involved with. And whether that was in religion, which I know I've been a priest or a minister or cardinal, whatever, a few lifetimes, or in politics, I know I've been involved with that as well, and doing things that were not, on the up and up, and doing things to people I shouldn't have been doing. So you look back through all our history, our collective history on planet Earth, and you can see society after society where people were abused. And I know that I've been a part of so many of those situations. So this is a wonderful opportunity for me to change the bias of so much of that past. And that's why it's so great for me to be a part of the documentary as well. So it's just been like I said, it's been a breath of fresh air and an avenue for all of us as students to be able to share the healing that we've had and the love. So it's just a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, it's true for all of us, as Kevin just said, that all of us students know that we have a tremendous amount of karma. We wouldn't be here on this planet at this time with all the negations that are happening if without, as you mentioned, Unarius is a person-centered science where we take personal responsibility. So whatever we see out there that we're having negative reactions to, it's because it's part of something that we've been involved in. So this opportunity that we have to share the documentary, to share the healings that we've had, and to give people hope that you can do it yourself. This isn't just about us 10 students or 20 students over here. It's something for everybody that anybody can change their life for the better, in a variety of ways. But Unarius provides the tools to be able to do it on your own with help from these advanced, loving, kind beings who reside throughout the universe. So it's been a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. And we're all just so excited to share and to see. But Unarius finally at a point where there's an avenue that it can spread this message of love and healing even more than what we've been trying to do for the last almost 70 years. So it's a very exciting time.
I'll share something about me that I don't think I've ever verbalized to Unarius. I've spoken about it in the past. The Herculean path that I follow is an acknowledgement that I've done great harm to the world and to its people in previous incarnations, as well as in this one, in my blindness when I was younger. And it's a taking of responsibility, and I'm trying to, as you do, make a positive contribution to understand what happened and to undo some of the wrongs that I personally have committed against the universe. And this I've never shared with Unarius, but part of what created a green signal with Unarius for me personally was in the very obscure ancient text written in the first century. An avatar of Hercules is a Ruth Norman type of character. It's called Astrochiton Hercules, or sky-clad or star-clad Hercules. And it was said that he wore clothing that was like stars and that he had sparkles and things like that.
Wow.
So that's how he communicated. And one of the ancients wrote a big book. And a lot of the books, they're published. You could, if you know about them, you could find them. And they're there. They're not hidden or guarded by esoteric orders, but they're very obscure. And in my individual path, that was a good thing that Ruth dressed that way. It drew a lot of attention, some of the positive, some of the negative. But people listened, and it drew people into exploring. And even if they thought about the higher truths that are there on the surface and shine forth, then something good was accomplished.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, yeah.
And that's the message that Uriel presented in the way she dressed and what have you. And of course, honestly, as she said too, this is the way people dress on other planets. And it's just, on this world where people have, and as we understand and know, have hangups and have insecurities and what have you, and are concerned what other people think and what have you. So there's a lack of personal expression, whereas she was free, completely free. Interestingly enough, and this is one of the questions people asked me, they said, well, what was, you've known Uriel and you've been involved with the Unarius for so long, and what is one thing you see about looking about our society that you think maybe she helped initiate that you can see going on in our world? And I said, here's something really interesting. 45, 50 years ago, she was dressing in space costume, and she would also dye her wigs different colors many times, bright purple, bright green, and she'd do these things, and I just was like, wow. At the time, I was like, wow, okay, whatever. Well, now, which and I know, you see, I don't want to say kids, but you see people. They'll get their hair color, one very bright pink or green, or sometimes they'll be rainbow, whatever. So at the time, a matter of fact, I remember very specifically when Unarius was taking these different videos to different stations throughout the United States to play on public access. And I had a chance, an opportunity to meet up. We had to have a local sponsor with a local sponsor in San Francisco.
Oh.
And that local sponsor, you had to have one of those folks to say right on the piece of paper, yes, I'm sponsoring Unarius, and yes, we should show their videos. And they had to be the one responsible to make sure and get videos back to Unarius, and we'd send them a new set of whatever latest videos were, whatever, back and forth. Well, I met up with that fellow, and he had hair down to his belly button, long hair, had an ear with piercings all down one side, pierced nose, part of his hair was purple. And I was sitting there with him. He says, I really I enjoy what Unarius's message is, but does Ruth Norman have to dress that way? And I know, and I just laughed, and I didn't even know what to say. I looked at him, well, she's just a free spirit. But in that ability to be unconcerned what other people think, and to be just living that total consciousness, that inward creative consciousness, and being able to express it out to the world, she dressed the way she felt she wanted to, and dressed, as she said, the way they dress on the inner planes of light, the way they dress on other planets. And since that time, what we've seen is the acceptance in people dyeing their hair or coloring their hair, or doing so many other things. Now, hopefully in the future, they'll begin to understand, hey, maybe you're doing this because you lived on some other worlds where they did this. Maybe this is a part of your past lives that you don't understand yet, where, you did incarnate on these other planets. So there's a lot to see on the surface, but there's even more to uncover that goes underneath. So, but that is one aspect, I think, that Uriel helped initiate onto our world.
Yeah, I believe you're right, because Athena, my wife, she sometimes has she did her hair red again and cut it, but she's had her hair like natural the way it is, mostly gray. She's had it green, she's had it blue, she's had it purple.
She's remembering her life on these other planets.
Yeah, love it. It's I never know what I'm going to wake up to, so it's.
You got a new spouse.
Yeah.
I like the spouse the way she is, just a hair thicker.
Absolutely. So I guess the big thing, I guess, we want to make sure people understand is that if they want to see the doc, go to welcomespacebrothers.com. There's a whole website set up where you can see where it's playing, and as we say, coming to a theater near you. And then hopefully, on some of those different places where it is playing, maybe Tracey and I will be there, maybe somebody else will be there to do a Q&A afterwards. And then in the not too distant future, it's actually going to be available too via
streaming.
Yeah,
yeah. We don't know which method yet, but it is supposed to be happening in the next, I think, 2 months or less. Yeah. So that'll be great, because then it's going to be available to everybody.
Be available on physical media as well, like on DVD or Blu-ray.
I think so, but we don't know for sure yet. We don't know the details, but I'm sure once we find out, we'll do everything we can to make sure people know about it and have access to it.
And I believe that was one of the things that Jody did say, is that yes, they're attempting to make sure that it is available on physical media as well. So what aspect there is of that takes, I don't know yet, but yes, she did mention that.
So, and I wanted to add something else, because Kevin talked about in the documentary, there's so much footage of psychodramas and different things that have happened. And if anybody's interested, Unarius has a Vimeo channel, and there are like 30 different videos.
No, well, there's like 55.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just a lot
of shows that you can watch for free. You can also buy them if you want to, but you can watch them for free all the different Unarius shows. The only one that's not on there is The Arrival, which is Unarius's premiere psychodrama, and that's because that's in the process of being digitally remastered, as well as
Wow.
that's going to be shown, we think, eventually in theaters,
Yes.
independent theaters as
That,
well.
yes, and that is we now have a contract with a group that sets up movies in independent theaters across the United States, and so they're going to be showing The Arrival in different movie houses, art movie houses across the United States. Once they get it all cleaned up more, I really don't think it needs to be cleaned up a whole heck of a lot. It's actually gorgeous.
It's
But
great. I have an old copy. It's great.
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
I will honestly tell you, you know how beautiful it is and how the special effects are gorgeous in it. If you see the digitized copy that is available, we can't share it with you and can't share it with everybody because of what's going to happen. The special effects in that, they pop. It's just absolutely amazing because to see the difference. And I've watched it for so many years, and when I finally saw it after it had been digitized, even I was blown away because it just the clarity and the beauty of it is just amazing. So that's going to be shown in movie houses, and actually, what they want to do is show that along with the documentary in some of these movie houses, which is great, and combined, so for an afternoon or whatever. So it's very exciting to see these things come to fruition, and hopefully that will happen near a theater near you, so you'll be able to see the Arrival as well.
I can see in my mind's eye a bells and whistles DVD or Blu-ray set that has both movies and has all of these other footage you've been talking about as special features so that people get the whole experience.
Yes.
I think that'd be fantastic,
Yeah.
and I think you're very, very much so correct. I'm sure it's gonna end up that way, where it even has, like you said, afterwards, some of the Q&A and some of the other things that have been done, throughout the last year and a half, 2 years, added to that as well. So yes, and it will be a wonderful package for people to get information about Unarius. So
Yes,
Oh, I did.
curious about Unarius, or if you have a history with Unarius and you're due to be the truth of Unarius teacher, that'd be a great thing to have on the bookshelf or near the TV.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And I did want to mention that we have it's our annual event, the Interplanetary Conclave of Light event, takes place the second weekend in October, and it's October 10th and 11th. And on Saturday afternoon, we have an open house. Sunday afternoon, we have a past life therapy workshop, and then Sunday evening, we have a transmission mental contact with the brothers. But Saturday night, we're going to be showing the documentary. So if anybody is so inspired and is able to come and visit Unarius during that weekend for any part of it, Saturday night they'll be able to see the documentary, we're just so excited. And we've actually named the theme of this year's event Welcome Space Brothers. So yeah, we're excited.
I'd like to help spread the word more so than an occasional visit on the show. If you can send me an email with what's going on and where to link to it,
Yep.
I'm happy to keep that posted as often as I get something.
Absolutely. Yes. And we're very close to finalizing the publicity about it. So we'll make sure that you get to be part of that and share it. That's great. Thank you.
Honored. And Tracey, you've shared your healing journey very many times on the show and beyond. Is that part of the movie also? Because you're very great and very powerful when you speak about your path and the healing that's come to you.
Not in the documentary. No, it wasn't part of the timeline of what she wanted to cover. I do have a couple of cameo appearances as Kevin's wife, and just because I'm at Unarius, but no, it was not part of the documentary. It didn't really fit in, but as she said, she has enough footage to produce like a whole docu-series of how much footage she's filmed over the years, and who knows if and when that will happen. But yeah, as Kevin said at the beginning of our talk tonight, she couldn't possibly put everything in there that she has accumulated over the years, because she just has so much information.
The visuals alone, I mean, thousands and thousands of slides and 1,000 videos and film, and there's the actual finished shows, and then there's the B-roll and all the filming that was done that wasn't used for shows, and so she was overwhelmed, honestly, with how do you tell this story and of Unarius. And so she focused, like Tracey said, on that specific time from about 1976 to 1990, 1988, somewhere in there, when that the filming was at its peak and the videos were at their peak in being produced and shown across the United States. And along with that, the incredible story of Ruth Norman and how just insanely generous and obvious that she was being inspired from a higher source because of what she did. I mean, you think about it at, 76 years old, 1976. She started a video lab. She started a film lab. She started a music lab. She had an art studio set up. She had she set up a publishing company. She set up a prop department. I mean, all of these things at 76 years old.
Costumes.
And so and produced amazing things. And so it was it's a wonderful story, and that was, I think, the angle that she found was most that resonated the most. The story of this incredible science of Unarius, and especially Ruth Norman and what she brought and how she helped people. And that's the common thread throughout the documentary, is all of us talking about, what, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today if it wasn't for Ruth Norman's help and love and healing in my life. And, Uriel. And even our, if there is a protagonist in the story, David Osborne, who, left Unarius because of an ego deflation, and he didn't want to accept it, so he left. But by the end of the story, he's talking about having his healing even in front of the camera, saying, he starts talking about Uriel, and love came in so strong, he just started crying, and he says, "We have to. Can you just?" He says, "I want everybody to understand. I'm not crying because I'm here and she's gone, or that I'm angry or anything like that." He says, "I'm crying because love is here," and it's such a powerful thing.
It's powerful.
And you just see him, have this incredible healing, because he had carried around with him for over 45 years the anger about the deflation he experienced, because Uriel, basically, which he shares in the movie, had him take out his he prominently put his name in the very beginning of the film, giant, a film by David Osborne,
The Arrival.
in The Arrival. And Ruth Norman said, no, we're not about building up people's egos here. You got to take that off at the beginning of the film. And he got so angry, that was the reason he left. But he stuck, he still hung around Unarius on the edges and still studied a bit. But this documentary helped him come full cycle with his own healing and appreciation of what Unarius did for him and Uriel. So he was hoping, which is so interesting, because I think it gives a wonderful texture to the documentary to have his point of view on what he was angry about and the healing that he had. But he was so upset when after he had his healing, he kept telling us, I got to find a way to get them to take that out. Because he didn't want to be a part of or have that shown in the documentary, his own emotional reaction that he hadn't resolved. So it's a wonderful opportunity for him and for all of us, and just a great way to share that love.
It reminds me of the story of Antares and how he was redeemed in the areas as well.
And that's shown in the documentary as well.
A big part in the documentary, which is great, because, well, you'll see. I don't want to be a spoiler, but he has a tremendous role that he plays and his healing in the documentary.
I intend to see it as soon as it's streaming. As everyone knows by now, I've been diagnosed with Parkinson's. So my balance is not very good. My vision is not very good. So my going to Manhattan and taking trains and things like that is out of the question for now. Although I'm very optimistic too. So
Good.
Will happen. And I'm open for possibilities. But I'm looking forward to getting the deluxe DVD set when it comes out. Well, this is amazing, and I personally believe that creativity is almost divine power. You're taking something intangible and invisible, and you're making it real here, where other people can experience it as well. And Unarius has always been great in encouraging people to explore their unique creative self-expression and to produce artifacts of that expression, and then they become part of the bigger story that Unarius is telling. That's awesome.
Very true and,
Yep.
and very well stated. So yes. And I think if anybody out there wants to learn more about Unarius, obviously you can go to unarius.org, .org and find information there about Unarius. And obviously there too, there's links to the Welcome Space Brothers website, along with a link to our Vimeo channel and a link to Unarius's podcast and that
your podcast.
Your podcast, your earlier podcast that had such a wonderful impact on so many of the students and being able to share. So lots of wonderful information for everybody to choose from.
I thank you for everything you've done and everything that you're doing. You're awesome individuals, and I'm humbled to be part of the spiritual path that we're all following. And I want to thank you for being here today and opening doors to this exciting chapter in the story of Unarius.
Well,
thank you,
Thank you
Hercules.
for helping us share everything that has meant so much to us and done so much for us and other people. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. It's going to take me a second to find the right buttons, and
That's quite all right.
I'll quit doing that. Okay, thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.